Hello, this is going to be the walkthrough for how to bring our tessellation tile that we've drawn in into Photo P and be able to edit it and tile it and see if it repeats. So here goes. You do need to be in Photo P. So it is just, if you just type into your Google browser, photop.com, there's also a link in the Google Classroom for the assignment. And you're going to go ahead and select New Project. So that's what I'm doing now. And the size that we want to choose, if you go to the tab, there's a bunch of little tabs over here on the left. You're going to click on the print one, and there should be a letter option down towards the bottom. If you are working on a smaller screen, you might need to scroll. So there will be a scroll bar right here where my arrow is moving. So I'm going to select letter. I'm going to hit create, and here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to open and place our photograph of our tile. So the location for that is up under File here where my cursor is at. And you'll notice that there's both an open option and an open and place option. And the one that you want to select is open and place. And what this is going to do is this is going to just bring a copy of our photograph in. It's not going to edit the original. So I'm going to go ahead and find my image here and bring it in. Now, my image is showing up a little bit small and I want it to be bigger. So I'm actually going to use the bounding box, which is just the fancy name for the box that is around the image with the little mini boxes at the corners and midpoints. I'm going to hold Shift down on the keyboard, and what that does is that keeps the proportions the same so that you don't end up kind of smooshing or stretching your image, because that will prevent it from tiling perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a teeny bit bigger. And then anytime you do one of those transformation options, you need to hit the little check mark up at the top that applies the action there. Okay, so got the image there. As you can see, this is not the best photo. I've got a bit of my table background here. I have the other shapes going on, and all I really actually need is, my drawing. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this. If you look over at your toolbars over on your left-hand side, so this is where all your tools are located, you will see that there's the arrow one, which is our move tool, and then there are 3 tools immediately underneath it. Now, almost all of these options, if you click and hold, you'll see that there's actually multiple. There's a sub-menu. So we could do the quick select tool, which is under here with the magic wand, quick selection. We could try to do magic wand, although because I have the desk color in the background, that's not really going to be the best choice. If I have a really steady hand, I can use the lasso tool, because that's just drawing around the image. Or if I wanted to kind of get rid of stuff first, big stuff first, and then go and use one of the other tools, I could go ahead and use the rectangle or the ellipse tool. I have found, because I've done this a couple times now, that for my drawing, since I have fairly clean edges, the object selection tool is actually the one that's going to be the fastest. So that's the one I'm going to go ahead and pick. You may find, especially if you've got a lot of stuff around your image, if you didn't isolate it, that you might want to use the lasso tool or try the quick select tool. So anyway, I've got this ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and select my drawing here. And you'll notice what happens. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. It puts a dotted line around it. So this is kind of a universal selection option or kind of view that it shows us for pretty much any graphics program. So if you've ever worked in a graphics program, it's going to be the same. Now I am a little hesitant here because I can see that not everything in my image was selected, which is interesting because it was last time. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again and see if I can get it to work a little bit better. There we go. So now it actually has all of it selected. There's a little bit of extra here. I'm not going to worry about that for right now. I'll go ahead and get rid of that later on. So now that I have it selected, I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to paste it. And when I paste it, it's going to create its own layer. And so if you look over on the right-hand side of your screen, you should have these window options. And they have tabs that you can kind of switch between. That just helps organize the information. One of the tabs that's going to be most important for us is the layers tab. So this works a little bit like having layers of paper one on top of each other, but they're, they have the potential of being transparent. So when we say we're going to create a layer, basically we're creating another piece of image that's going on top of the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. The shortcut is a lot faster than trying to go up to the menu. It's going to be on your Chromebooks. It's going to be Control-C is universal copy command. And then the universal paste command is actually Control-V. So V as in Victor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now it's going to paste it immediately on top of my original version, so it's going to look like nothing has happened. If I use the move tool, you can see that, whoops, accidentally skewed it. I didn't want to do that. You can see that I can actually now move it and it's separate there. Okay, so I don't need that original photo anymore. So over in the layers panel, I'm going to go ahead and hide it. So I don't have to delete it, just in case I need to kind of get back to it again. But you'll notice that there's little eyes next to each of the layer kind of thumbnail pictures. So if I click on the eye, you'll see that it will erase or kind of hide from view the layer that I don't want to see. Now, when we've done that, we notice here that our drawing, even though it's done on white paper, it looks like it's a little bit gray. Actually, in this case, it's kind of a pink gray. That just has to do with the lighting of the photograph. So we're going to get rid of this little bit here, and then we're going to actually edit the quality of the photo so that we get a white background so that this looks a little bit more professional. So to get rid of this little kind of bit that's extra, I'm going to go ahead and go back to where we were before, but instead of the object selection tool, I'm going to select the magic wand tool. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of click in the space that I want to kind of go away. And you'll notice that we've got the dotted lines around there again. And then I should be able to, and you should be able to either hit, if you're working on a regular computer, delete, or on your Chromebooks, you'll need to hit the backspace. And you'll see that it very nicely gets rid of it. Now this area is still selected and I don't need it selected anymore, so I'm going to deselect it. And the shortcut command for deselecting is Control-D, which of course makes a lot of sense. D for deselect. Okay. All right, so looking pretty good here, except for that background not looking white. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to adjust the levels. And the levels has to do, in this case, with our highlights, our midtones, and our shadow areas. So right now, theoretically, the space that should be white is our highlights. So we're going to go up to Image, right up at the top, and we're going to select Adjustments, and then you'll see that the second option is Levels. So if you go ahead and click there, you'll get this neat little chart here, or diagram. And you'll see that there are squares, and one square is white, one square is gray, and one square is black. And I think it's fairly safe to assume that the white is our highlights, midtones are that gray, and then our darkest values are going to be that black. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag our white box here until the background of our image also turns white. Okay, and so now it matches the rest of the document. It's nice and white. If we printed it out, it wouldn't print out a weird gray color. But what happened as a result is that it also adjusted a little bit of the pen work. And so I want to darken that and kind of bring it back to its dark value. So I'm going to go to the black square and I'm going to pull it towards the middle. And you'll see that it will darken the image. And this is a great way too, especially if you've got like little gaps in your pen work, it will often kind of cover it up. So it's a pretty useful tool to be able to use. Once I've gotten it how I like it, I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I'm going to zoom out just a hair bit. Oh, in case you want to know, so zooming in and out is super easy. It's just Control+ to zoom in and Control- to zoom out on your keyboard. So that's the shortcut for it. Now what we're going to do is we want to make sure that we can tile this. That's the whole point of our tessellation. So we're going to go ahead and copy our image. Oops. I accidentally selected it and I didn't necessarily want to, but I am going to click on it with the arrow tool. That's this one up here. And I'm going to copy it. So Control-C, and then I'm going to paste it. And so when I do that, now I've got another one that I can move with. Now you'll notice that I went and clicked up on the top layer that had appeared. So you'll notice it says now layer 1 copy. So that's the one that I've selected. So you can kind of move between your different layers by clicking here. Okay. And you can also select layers and select multiple layers by holding shift down and clicking. So you can see that you'll know that you have it selected because it'll be a lighter gray than the original. So, but right now I just want to edit the one that I created. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it and see if I can get it to fit in the spot where it's supposed to go. And this does take a little kind of back and forth. And as long as you haven't skewed your image and you didn't draw outside your lines for your tessellation tile, it should work perfectly, okay? And then you can just hit the little check mark to make it apply. And then we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna do Control C, copy it, Control V, we'll paste it. We'll see we've got a new copy here. And same thing, we're gonna rotate it. So now mine is rotating because I chose the rotation style of tessellation tile. You may have chosen a different style to use, and that's fine. So you may not actually have to rotate yours. It may just be kind of a movement, or you may end up having to kind of flip it. So how you have to edit your image might vary a little bit from mine. Okay, so now I have 3 of these all set up. Now I could just continue copying and pasting individual ones and, you know, taking the time to do that, but I have basically half of a hexagon, so I can very easily select all 3 layers, which means all 3 of these images already, copy them and paste them, and basically I've just streamlined my process. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to hold shift down, I'm going to select all 3 of those images, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it. And you'll see that it did the whole thing. So now I can just rotate this around, fit it in, and I have my whole kind of tessellation hexagon. And then I can do the same thing where I can go ahead and select the layers that I just copied, copy them again, paste them again, and now I can tile my whole document. And so if you want to see what yours is going to look like when you tile your whole page, this is what you want to do. And I'm just going to keep on pasting and kind of moving to the spot. And I'm going to fill up most of my page here. Now, if you find that your image is not tiling, you might need to go back to the drawing board as far as your tessellation tile. If you find that it's too busy, like I feel like mine is really, really, really busy. I've ended up putting a lot of details into my little squid dude. So when I end up taking this and creating the linoleum cutting from it, I might simplify it a little bit. But the nice thing about doing this digitally is that I can very quickly do this without having to hand draw every single one of those squids. And then I can kind of adjust as needed. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and export this. So to export it, you guys, the best way to do this is to go ahead and go up to File, and then you'll see that there is an Export As option. So either a PNG or a JPEG is fine. They will both work. It's also a good idea to save as a PSD. And a PSD file is the native Photoshop file. So just having it lets you go back and actually be able to edit your individual layers if you need to do so. Or if you need to kind of adjust. Now, you are, in addition to kind of creating your tessellation tile here, you need to have at least one example of your tile that is inverted. So I'm going to actually clear up some space here. Oops. So I can do the inverted and have it be isolated. So I'm going to move this dude over here. Let's see here. I don't know which one that one is. Let's see if I can find where this guy is. Okay, well, actually, I'm not going to worry about it because it'll take too much time for our video here. But I want to make sure that I can kind of see see what this is going to look inverted, because remember that the linoleum cutting is a subtractive process. So if you end up cutting where you're seeing black in your drawing, you're going to actually be creating a negative, and you don't want to do that. So by actually making the image negative here in a graphics program, we actually have a roadmap then for what to carve when we do the linoleum cutting. And it's super easy to do invert. It's back up in the same place where we did the adjustment for levels. So you're going to go back up to image, go to adjustments, and then you'll see that there is an invert option about a little bit past halfway down. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you'll see that the squid that I had selected here has changed. It's flipped. Okay, so you can do either just one, or if you want to do like a whole set of the tiles so that you can see it. The reality is when we do the stamp, we're only cutting one tessellation tile. So you only need it for one. And sorry about that, guys. And that's it, you guys. So go ahead and make sure you export it this way too. All right, make sure you ask me if you have questions.